Believe the people in the United States involved enough in political processes in the United States, or maybe they just don't care.
I think it's hard to judge whether they're involved enough. Unfortunately, former President Trump and Joe Biden are running neck and neck in the opinion polls. Trump seems to have what to you and I would be a almost incomprehensible grip on a very large portion of the American people. And, you know, I think, well, we see for a start, we see Trump's stooges in Congress currently holding up further aid to Ukraine. And I think we can be pretty fearful that if Trump does get back in next year, and that cannot be discounted as a great possibility at the moment, it is likely that he will certainly not continue any great support of Ukraine, but also I think there's a likelihood that he would pull America out of NATO, leaving Europe unprepared as we are at the moment on our own. It's very concerning.
Well, pulling America out of NATO. Trump offers very simple and easy answers to a very complicated questions, and some like it. A lot of people actually like it, which is why he's so popular. I believe so. But mainly, the main challenges the modern democracies are facing when attempting to ensure the rights and freedoms of citizens, what are they? What is the problem of the modern democracy? That is my question. Let's put it that way.
You know, democracy is very, very difficult.
Is it?
But it's probably the best. It's probably the best system of running human affairs that we have come across on the earth so far. And unfortunately, what we see at the moment in the United States and across Europe is a considerable rise in populism. I even see it in my own country, exactly. Ireland, where there was never a far right, and it's starting to emerge very strongly. And we see some of the ridiculous characters on the far right in Ireland, like this clown Conor McGregor, the mixed martial arts fighter, who is being openly, is openly in conversation with other elements of the far right in both America, Britain, and Europe. And recently we had, Elon Musk tweeting that he would support Conor McGregor's bid to be president of Ireland. So when you have something like this happening, even in Ireland, it's very, very concerning. And, the far right, or indeed the far left, because there's a threat from the far left in Ireland also, in my view, with the rise of Sinn Féin, no friends of Ukraine, and with very questionable links to the Kremlin. But, populism, whether it's of the far right or the far left, always seeks to give people easy answers.
Yes, exactly.
And the truth is, in democracy, there are no easy answers. And why we have this rise at the moment, I don't know. Maybe it's in the West we have become decadent and soft.
I believe very
funny
much
enough,
it
that
could
is
be.
what Russia.
Yes. Well, I was recently, thinking.
That is what Russia would say.
Yeah, right, absolutely. But I've been recently thinking that that saying that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter by Winston Churchill. So is democracy really a good choice, or just is that inevitable choice?
Well, Winston Churchill said that, but he also said that democracy was was, as I said earlier on, was the best system for moderating human affairs that we had come up with. So it was a terrible system, but it was better than all the others. Look, when I was going to school and university, which is now over 40 years ago, I thought that I was in a world where everything was getting better, where we were getting more democratic,
right.
We were getting more free, we were getting more idealistic. And 40 years on, suddenly it seems that we are going backwards, and some of the horrible things that we only read about in history, we see happening. And indeed, we've seen it happening in Ukraine for the last 2 years, where a revanchist, Russia has been committing genocide in a European country in 2022, 2023. And there is a unwillingness of the population of most of Europe to actually take their heads out of the sand and realize that this is happening. We think that this is something that was confined to history. It's not. And we're suffering from two things. I think I would say three things we suffer from. We're suffering from Ukraine fatigue. We've been saying this ridiculous phrase for as long as it takes. I think Joe Biden, for the first time ever last week, actually uttered the words that we need Ukraine to win. But we need to see serious actions going behind those words. So we're suffering from Ukraine fatigue in Europe. We're suffering from a decadence and a softness which you don't have in the Baltic states. You don't have in Ukraine. You probably don't have in Poland, because the memories of how awful domination
Absolutely.
by Russia is still very, very recent in your memories. But this is something, certainly in 1991, when the Soviet Union fell apart, we probably got very lazy and we thought, this is great. The Cold War is over. We can get on now with having fun and making money. Russia certainly didn't adopt that attitude, and we failed to listen to the warning signs. Russia told us over and over again they weren't interested in our ideas of democracy. And in fact, the reason for the war in Ukraine is because Ukraine, took a very, very strong turn towards the West and made it very clear, the Ukrainian people have a lust for freedom in their heart, a lust for freedom that I believe the Russian people have never really had. They have a lust for strong leaders. And the greatest threat to the survival of Putin and his kleptocratic regime was always a free, successful, democratic Ukraine on Russia's doorstep, because that could be encouragement to any nascent freedom movement in Russia, not because of NATO expansion, or not because Ukraine was full of Nazis, or not because of the persecution of the Russian-speaking minority. You and I know all these lies, but how many people have believed these lies, Henry?